Resumes. We all have them or have had them. We all have a love-hate relationship with them. I've definitely groaned when I realized mine was due for an update. But regardless of how we feel about them, they're a pretty crucial part of the traditional job process. Whether they're the first thing somebody sees about you or the second thing if you sent a cover letter or something somebody wants you to follow up from an informational interview with. Talk about those later if you don't know what they are. They're a pretty crucial way to get across the core information about you and your core story. So today we've got an expert, Robert Braathe. He specializes in helping people polish their resumes, their cover letters, and their LinkedIns to help them put their best professional foot forward. He started out as a manager at Disney where he got to see thousands of resumes, and now he's on his own, and you can hire him. And his information will be below if I can figure out how to do that. So you can contact him directly. He's happy to work with people to help them polish their professional presence. But if you're just looking for a couple of tips, listen today. I've asked him some questions, and you can kind of get the top level how to make your resume the best your resume can be. So my first question, what is the biggest mistake you see in resumes?
The biggest mistake I see is usually putting extraneous information like a GPA or references available upon request. So it's like words that are unnecessary and extraneous. There's only so much real estate you can have on one or two pages. So it's really that extraneous words that just take up space unnecessarily.
What's the most important thing to keep in mind when you're building your resume?
Your future, not necessarily your past. I think a lot of people are so proud of that, paper route they had in 1986 or the job they had at a grocery store for 2 years. And that's good context. But really, you've got to be pitching for the position you want in the future, not talking too much about your past.
And how does one best position themselves for what they want in the future?
Focusing on achievements, I think that's where, especially people that are looking to change careers, you want to tell that story of using that past information to share your achievements, both as a teammate and as an individual, while explaining exactly what you want to do next.
So say I hire you and I'm applying to 3 different jobs. And each of them have like a slightly different role or a slightly different size or ask. Would you recommend that I tailor my resume to each of those, or would it be one resume for each?
Yeah, certain elements. Recently I worked with somebody who had wanted a general resume to send to different applications, but they also wanted 2 different ones for a specific job. And in those cases, we tailored the objective statement at the top, added in a few bullet points, and subtracted a few from the other one, and then really changed the skill sets area to really tailor it to what that job description was. And I think that's important to have your general run-of-the-mill that you can send out to a mass audience, but you want to have some specificity when you're looking at a particular job.
And how about when you're talking about your past work experience? How would you recommend somebody kind of tackle that explanation?
I think, especially if it's completely out of your element. Most recently I worked with a banker who's looking to get out of that field. Maybe the bottom third of the page, you list out some of those different banks you worked with, but really the body and the heart of the resume should really be about the achievements during that time that are transferable to other fields.
Interesting. Does any of your advice differ depending on where somebody is in their career, like starting out versus executive level?
Yeah. I think, with executive level, I'm fine with going to a second page. If you're really just getting started out, one page is fine. But if for somebody, especially somebody who's got a wealth of experience, but really is shifting, even that experienced person, I like sticking to one page because there may be a lot of not irrelevant information, but, information that doesn't need to be kept on there that might be 15, 20 years ago. So I definitely find that customization, depending on the audience, is real critical. Like recently, I had a student in one of my classes who I'd say he's probably got 10 years under him in experience. And he had 4 pages, which I just find to be horrible in any situation. And he was surprised that in short order, we were able to get that down to a page. And he was so happy to report in class yesterday that he's gotten 4 job interviews and 1 offer already because he was able to be more succinct.
Mm. So even in the digital age, when the page is pretty nebulous, still good guide to keep it to 1 page?
Good guide to keep it simple, tell a story. And because it's like anything, it's like the front cover of a newspaper or a magazine. You want to get people to get the taste of you on that first page, and then if you have that second page, your first page should be interesting enough to get somebody to want to read on.
Hmm. Are there any fields where you give different advice because that field is very, very different?
I find sometimes with IT and healthcare, because people, have to show some kind of progression or variety of experience, I'm fine with going longer. But just from my own personal preference, I feel because even though in the digital age, like you said, a page and a half doesn't really matter from two. Sometimes people do get a hard copy, and why not go 2 full pages rather than a page and 3/4?
Hmm. So is there anything I haven't asked you about that you really feel like is important you want to touch on?
Yeah, I think back in about 10 years ago, I used to help people out with inexpensive websites, and I always found that telling a story about a business is so much more than a website, and we wouldn't work with people unless they really understood that the website isn't just going to get you there. Similarly, even if we just do somebody's resume, we do want to take a look at their cover letter and what they're doing on LinkedIn, and give them some pointers so that way they can take that one piece that we've helped them with, whether it's the LinkedIn or the resume or the cover letter, and give them at least enough advice so then they can take and run with the options that they want to do on their own.